What's going on, everybody? I'm Primalliquid, and this is going to be a hugely insane video because our good friends over at Reef Entertainment and Idea Factory have not only sent me a lovely limited edition for the latest Neptunia game, Our Revolution, and they are giving me a limited edition to give away as well. Platform of the winner's choice, and it's open in a whole bunch of regions, including North America, Europe, UK, and so on and so forth. However, more details for that are going to be at the end of this video. So, first of all, let's open up the limited edition right now, show you guys what you can win, and then we're going to have a quick little review of the game as well. So, without further ado, let's jump into the unboxing, shall we? And now we can take a look at the actual limited edition. So let's go ahead and just cut off all of the bubble wrap. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the game out. So there's the game, Neptunia Game Maker Our Evolution. Obviously I chose the PS5 copy because I freaking love the PS5. So let's go ahead and throw that down there. And here is the limited edition. Oh, we got a little trading card as well, it seems. Debug Squad, ready for bug hunting. So we'll have a little look-see at that. There we go. Nice little trading card. And then nothing really on the back, just the front. All right, let's move the bubble wrap, and then we can carry on looking. Oh man, it feels so wrong to open up a limited edition like this. I will say though, I like the box. Like the box art is really nice, to be fair. It's definitely a nice box. Feels sturdy as well, which is really, really nice. That's how you know you're getting some decent quality right there. Right, let's go ahead and just cut on into it. Hopefully we haven't just cut the box, but we'll see. Okay, here we go. As I say, it feels really weird. It feels really wrong just to open up this, man. There's always something nice about having fully sealed limited editions, right? Like, I can't be the only one that thinks that, surely. Surely I can't be the only one. So, let's move them out of the way for a second, and here we go. We'll all take a nice look at this together. When it finally opens. There we go. Okay, so what do we have first? Nothing on the inside there. Okay, so first and foremost, we have the Steel Edition game case, which actually looks really nice. It's got a really nice sheen to it. We have the regular Neptune and her goddess form as well. And then on the back, we have the other three goddesses in this game. If we take a look inside, yep, just your bog standard, nice steel case. Not damaged, which is really, really nice. Honestly, I've had quite a few steel cases that have come completely damaged where you can't even open them or close them. So that coming in one piece is definitely very, very nice. Okay, let's go ahead and lift the top shelf up, and then we can see what else we have. So first is the Neptunia Game Maker Our Revolution official soundtrack, which has 15 songs on. So we've got the Game Maker Revolution soundtrack and so on and so forth. 15 songs, all by Yuki Sugiura. I feel like I've just absolutely butchered the pronunciation for that name. However, having already played a huge chunk of the game, I can say the soundtrack is phenomenal. So that's going to get quite a lot of use for sure. Let's put that there. And then we have another layer to go down. In fact, you know what? Let's just put that back in there. Oops. Would help if I put it in the right way, wouldn't it, guys? Okay, so let's just throw that in there. I'll put that to the side. Then we have a nice little cloth poster. Now this is definitely one of the things I was really, really interested in the most. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put that over to one side, and then when we flip the camera back around, we'll actually open it up and I'll show you the full shape of it. We have another cloth poster. So that's really, really nice. We have two cloth posters. I think both of those are going to go up on my stream set for sure. And then we have the Neptunia Game Maker Our Revolution official art book. Nice hard back cover. Let's take a look at the actual art inside. So a lot of this will probably be available in-game. I've not actually looked through the menus, but Idea Factory is incredibly good at doing that as well. And then on the first title, we actually have every single Neptunia title on there on the first page, which is really quite nice, to be fair. So you've got your typical character introductions, your general art for them, and then as you go through, you know, you've got some others and so on and so forth. Not going to go through that too far because I don't want to spoil you guys on, you know, what and who is in the game and that. So we'll put that back in there. Right, let's go ahead, get this closed up, and then we can take a look at the cloth posters. Okay, now let's take a look at the posters, shall we? And remember, if you guys want to win this limited edition yourself on your platform of your choice, make sure you stick around to the end of this video. Okay, so the first one is a nice little cloth art of the lovely Uni in a wedding dress. Very nice art on that, very nice detail as well. Let's go ahead and throw that to one side for a second, and we can look at the next one, which is about Neptune. Oh, and the other goddesses. It would help if I looked at the back of it, wouldn't it? And there we go for the next one, which is the lovely Neptune and the 3 new goddesses. Really, really nice detail. Honestly, it feels really nice as well. And I really can't wait to actually get these hung up on the shelves. Right, with that said though, let's go ahead and jump into my review for the game, shall we? So, we're going to break this review down into 5 pieces, okay? Now, we're not going to do this super in-depth, you know, we're not going to use anything to, you know, track the exact frame rate or anything like that. This is going to be a review more for the general player. So we're going to focus it on story, gameplay mechanics, the art, and the soundtrack of the game, okay? So let's start off with the story, shall we? Now, when it comes to the story, there are a few things we can talk about and a lot that we can't talk about, obviously because of spoilers and things like that. So let's have a brief overview. We control Neptune, but not the usual Neptune herself. We are controlling a different Neptune from an alternate dimension. Once again, this does seem more like a side game than a mainline title for Neptunia. So if you're more of a fan of stuff like Rebirth 1, 2, and 3, instead of the more recently released titles, which have been slightly more side gamey than actual main game, then you are going to be a little bit disappointed on that front. However, the story itself still follows the same principle that is very common in other Neptune titles. There's still a lot of comedy. Granted, it's not as, you know, wall-breaking as some previous titles, but is still there nonetheless. But it's definitely, in my opinion, a slight tier down compared to what we're used to in Neptunia titles. That's not to say there's no comedy, it's just a little more toned down compared to previously. In terms of the actual plot of the game, we are essentially put in charge of a game company where we need to make video games to earn shares. Yes, the share mechanic is returning because of course it is. It's in every single Neptunia game. Only this time the way we earn shares is very, very different, and the entire story premise revolves around your game company and creating video games. And that we will talk a little bit more about when we actually get to the gameplay front. Now, in terms of the general story direction, unfortunately I'm not allowed to mention or show anything past a specific point in the game for obvious spoiler reasons. What I can say though is, if you are a fan of Neptunia games, you are definitely going to still get your enjoyment and charm from this title. If you are new to Neptunia games, then you can still definitely enjoy this game. You don't need to play any of the previous titles, but you might be a little bit confused on some of the more in-house jokes from the franchise previously, which don't really get elaborated on, but again, that is kinda common for Neptunia games. Now, let's move on to the gameplay, shall we? Now, the gameplay in question revolves around 4 characters with a slightly active battle. You can swap between the 4 characters in battle at will. However, one thing I will say is the battles are kind of clunky. Now, if we look at some of the older titles for Neptunia, the battles have been pretty free-flowing and the general movement in the areas are also pretty smooth. There's definitely some noticeable issues on the PS5 version of this game. I'm not sure about any of the other platforms, but there are noticeable drops in quality and the frame rate as well, especially in battles. Now, in battles, the frame rate will drop pretty substantially at times, most commonly though at the end of a fight, and just in general, the gameplay itself feels a little bit sluggish. Now, by sluggish, what I mean is it's not like a typical action game where the controls feel super smooth and very responsive. It's like there's a very small amount of delay on your actual inputs. Granted, once you actually get used to it, which only takes about 30 to 40 minutes, you don't really notice it and it does stop becoming an issue. However, the actual graphic drop will be a little bit of an issue. Now, this is something that's happened over the last few Neptunia games, where in regions, you can definitely notice a lot of pixelation on the actual graphics, which I definitely think is a little bit weird, because a lot of the older titles never had this issue. This is only the more recent titles that this has been happening on. One thing to note, however, is for a lot of the battles, you definitely get a little annoyed with them, I should say. Not because they're not fun or anything like that, just because they're actually rather slow and the rewards from the fight are honestly completely pointless. So, item drops, EXP, money, and CP, the main currencies in the game. Regular fights, you just don't really get anything of worth from them. And in fact, pretty much through the majority of my own playthrough, well, I'd say majority, from around the 40% of the game, so when I got about 40% of the way through, I actually just started to avoid all random encounters, just because there was no point in fighting them. There are much better ways to earn all forms of currency and items via alternate means, which is definitely a shame and a little bit of a disappointment compared to some of the previous titles where fights could be very worth it, and also quite challenging. However, there is pretty much no challenge in Neptunia unless you go out of your way for it. 100%ers will definitely experience some challenge towards the later portions of the game, but those who only play through the story are probably gonna not have any challenge whatsoever. In fact, you could actually just go the entire game just pressing square. It's like, once you actually figure out your combos, just load your combos up on square. You could probably get through the entire story just pressing that one button over and over, while also throwing in some of your link attacks. Special abilities, honestly, largely pointless, to be fair. Now, let's talk about the game mechanics. Now, the mechanics themselves are rather interesting. Disc development does return along with a new creator feature, and the dispatch feature also returns a little bit differently this time around. Now, disc development is how you create your games, which you can then equip on your characters to gain a bunch of special effects. Very similar to pretty much all previous Neptunia titles in that regard. However, it is also one of the main points of progression. So you can develop your discs to then increase your game company. You'll get currency for doing that, which you can then spend on making more games, so to once again increase your company level. Another feature is the creator dispatch. So obviously you use your creators to create games, however you can also dispatch them to other regions, sort of like a dungeon sim and all that. There's nothing really to that mechanic itself. It's entirely automated. You just send them out, go to an area, come back, and the dispatches have returned. Doing this will level them up. You'll get items, which you can then use to create other discs, or you can increase your actual HQ level with them. All in all, a pretty modest set of features in-game. One of the new ones is going to be the bike mechanic. However, I'm really not a fan of the bike. It's incredibly unresponsive and very sluggish. When you're actually trying to use it, you just try to do a very slight left turn, and you're pretty much doing a complete 180. It's like the bike is just not very responsive whatsoever. I honestly think it would have been a lot better to use the character controls for the bike, only a tiny bit faster. Unfortunately, it seems like it's a completely different set of controls, and you will 100% definitely notice that, especially if you're going for the 100% of the game, because the bike sections are 100% the most infuriating possible when going for all of the rewards. It was a nice idea to include it. I do, however, think it should be a little bit reworked, or at the very least have some tweaks via an update. Now, let's talk about the art. And the art in Neptunia games is always outstanding. It's like I am definitely in love with the art for our game maker, just because it just highlights the essence of previous Neptunia games. Fans of the series will still greatly enjoy it, and newcomers to the series will also be able to enjoy it as well. During the actual CGs, you can definitely notice a lot of detail put into the characters, which is truly 10 out of 10. I will admit I'm not a huge fan of the new goddess forms, but it's also not super terrible. A lot of them typically just share the same outfit, which is a little disappointing in my opinion. I would have preferred a much more unique look to them, sort of like some of the previous goddesses from other titles in the franchise. But the art, in my opinion, still a solid 9 out of 10. It's incredibly beautiful to actually look at. And now we move on to the last one, the soundtrack. This is 10 out of 10, okay? This is absolutely 10 out of 10. The soundtrack is freaking amazing, and I actually just love sitting here listening to it. Believe it or not, one of the things I've been doing is I've just been loading the game up just to listen to the soundtrack while I work on other things, okay? My absolute favorite, I don't know the name of it unfortunately, but my absolute favorite soundtrack is where you're just sitting in the main base menu. It's so calming and soothing, and I could genuinely listen to that for hours and hours and hours. It is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal for sure. Now, all in all, what do I think of the game? Well, I actually really quite enjoy it. Now, is it going to be worth 60, 70 British pounds? No, not in my opinion. I think that the best point of value for this game is going to be the 40 to the 50 pound mark. So I would still pay full price for this game, just not the AAA full price that a lot of companies are expecting us to pay right now. Honestly, it's incredibly easy to get, as a casual player, 40 to 50 hours of enjoyment from this game. If you're going for the 100%, then obviously expect that to be much higher. Now, I can't give an actual estimate for that just because obviously everybody has different skill levels, and some of the things can be incredibly infuriating. But for a general gameplay standpoint, it is a good, fun time waste. Now, I don't rate it as one of the best Neptunia games, but it is definitely a lot better than some of the more recent titles that we have actually had. And of course, with the Rebirth series coming to Switch soon, this is definitely a nice entry point for other players to the series. And then of course, if you enjoyed this one, absolutely pick up the Rebirth series when that comes out on Switch, because the Rebirth games are 10 out of 10. Our game maker, however, unfortunately, I'm going to have to give it a 7 out of 10 currently. There are a few issues I have with it, which I've mentioned in this review. I would love to see these get fixed in an update, or at least a patch, just to smooth things out. They don't need to be perfect, but there are some things that I do think need to be improved, namely the frame rate in the battles, or should I say some battles, and of course the bike controls 100% need a rework in my opinion. And now let's talk about the actual giveaway for the limited edition of this game, shall we? Courtesy of Idea Factory and Reef Entertainment. So big thank you to both of them for allowing me to give you guys the chance to win a limited edition on a platform of your choice. So let's talk about the rules, shall we? First and foremost, this giveaway is only available in North America, Australia, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, and European countries. It is available on a platform of your choice, being PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, and PlayStation
4. So don't worry if you don't have all of the consoles, you only need one of them to actually play this lovely, lovely game. So in order to enter, all you need to do is go down to the description. There will also be a pinned comment in this video, which will lead you to a website called Gleam.io. This will allow you to earn a ton of entries, and then on the 31st of May, so that is the 31st of May, it is a Friday, we will be selecting a winner at random. You could do just one requirement to get an entry, or you could do 100. It's entirely up to you, and of course all entries are entirely free as well. So good luck to everybody who enters the giveaway, and thank you very much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please be sure to smash that thumbs up, and of course drop a comment down below. Let me know what you're excited about for the limited edition, or of course what you are looking forward to the most in the actual game. Are you going to get it or not? And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more content. As always, though, everybody, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.